Askreddit thread. Who is the best example of someone that you're not sure if they are a complete idiot or a genius? A celebrity, a person from history, or someone you know personally are all fair game. The guy who used GameStop as a bank. It seems that I have to click on a link in order to see that. Does anyone else use GameStop as a bank? I got really pissed off with the US bank because I kept overdrafting my account, even though I opted out, and the same thing happened with my credit union when I got a debit card. Now whenever I get paid, I go pre-order a whole shitload of games whenever I need money. I go to the nearest GameStop and ask for money back on a game I don't want and make a withdrawal. The lines are shorter at GameStop than at the bank, and I can trade in old games and have money go straight into my savings account. GameStops are just as prevalent as banks in my town. I work at a mall, so it's even more convenient than running an errand to the bank or using an ATM and getting charged. The GameStop people are starting to catch on that I'm just moving money around and only buying one pre-order game a year. If that. But there isn't shit they can do about it. The best part is, since I've always pre-ordered every game coming out, I'm still guaranteed to get all the exclusive content whether or not I'm sure I want a certain game. It's like they're rewarding me for banking with them. I can't decide if you're brilliant or retarded. Okay. The fact that he kept overdrawing his account makes me think he's an idiot. Plus, GameStop doesn't insure his money and he can't gain interest. But this is an interesting idea, though. I could see a mid-range drug dealer who's pulling in a few thousand a week using this to hide some cash. Take the cash you made this week, buy a prepaid card, pre-order a bunch of games online, go in store and cancel and get cash back. You can also do this with credit cards. Just keep paying into your balance. People do this to hide money in a divorce. What? There is a historical figure from my hometown that has presented this question for over 200 years. Lord Timothy Dexter. Dexter was born in Malden, Massachusetts. He had little schooling and worked as a farm laborer at the age of 8. When he was 16, he became an apprentice to a leather dresser. In 1769, he moved to Newburyport, Massachusetts. He married Elizabeth Forthingham, a rich widow, and bought a mansion. Some of his social contemporaries considered him unintelligent. Many of them gave him bad business advice to discredit him and make him lose his fortune. Bought continental currency when it was almost worthless. Then the revolution ended and he was a rich man. He sold bed warmers to the West Indies. They then turned out to be perfect as molasses ladles. Next, he sold them mittens. They exported the mittens to Siberia. He sent gloves to the South Seas and ended up selling them to Portuguese sailors heading to China. He sold coal to Newcastle, one of the largest coal ports in the world. His ship happened to arrive just as a coal miner strike was starting, and was able to sell his coal for profit. He sold stray cats to the Caribbean. Edit, his ships arrived during a rat infestation. He held a fake funeral for himself and canned his wife because she did not cry enough. He wrote a book, A Pickle for the Knowing Ones. He screened against the local aristocracy. Oh wow, I can't say that word. But failed to include any punctuation. After complaints, in his next edition he included all the missing punctuation and an addendum on the last page. What? Honestly, someday Tim Burton needs to make a movie about him. Edit. LOL, this blew up. As several have noted, he did not complain when his wife did not cry. He canned her. Sorry, I was writing mostly from memory. Yes, Wes Anderson would be a good director. When I said hometown, I meant Newburyport, MA, which pretty much claims him as its own, going so far as having an actor playing his part as local parades and such. As a side note, Newburyport's industrial park is named after him, the Lord Timothy Dexter Industrial Green. More edits. Thanks to blah blah blah, where Dexter lived for a short time, this additional anecdote had not heard that one. Made me laugh. His relationship with his wife, daughter, and son also suffered. This became evident when he started telling visitors that his wife had died, despite the fact that she was still very much alive, and that the woman who would frequent the building was simply her ghost. The best part. Oh, that's great. There was a page of his book of just periods, commas, etc. That's hilarious. Yeah, that's just proof this guy was trolling everyone. Here it is. Found Mr. Printer, the knowing ones complained of my books. The Fost edition had no stops. I put in enough here and they may peeper insulted as they please. The way he structured that just tops it all off. This is a man who clearly dumped all his points into luck. Oh my god. Went to a counselor with my fiance. I was fucking up bad, going out drinking a lot, generally being a bad person. The counselor bought into all my bullshit and basically told my fiance that she needed to stop controlling me. I knew I was one of the wrong, and I was expecting the counselor to give me shit and call me out on my bullshit. It made me get very protective of my fiance and basically call the counselor out and everything, and eventually I changed my ways. I don't know if the counselor was a complete idiot or fraud incarnate. Fraud. Oh, how can I not say this guy? He's like the most popular, well-known person in psychology. Freudian. Fraud. Fred. Jedi level shit there. God damn, you got bamboozled into being a better person. Or that guy's just an idiot. This might be the best example in the thread. I had a similar experience. I called because I was having arguments with my wife. Every time I'd bitch about her, the counselor would say, "What kind of person would do that?" Invited me to totally lace into my wife's character. I didn't want to do that. So I started saying things like, "She's been stressed at work, her anxiety has been acting up, I've been distant." I came off that exchange thinking the guy was an asshole. I don't think he was inviting you to attack your wife's character. He was inviting you to think about what maybe caused her behavior other than some innate character flaw, and it worked. To anyone who is interested in chess culture, I cannot recommend enough of the writings of Jarsovok. His story, The Good Soldier Shevekh, fits the mold of a complete imbecile who may actually be a total genius. However, the legends surrounding Hasek are even more interesting. He was a known anarchist who drafted into the Austro-Hungarian army and was captured by the Russians the same year. One time he checked into a poor guy hotel under a Russian-sounding name, causing the local constable to think he was a spy for the Russian government. After hours of investigation, the police eventually discovered that they were investigating the town drunk. Oh, he also founded the coolest-sounding political movement, Chantra Mirend Pokfru V Mese Zakona, the Party for the Moderate Progress within the limits of the law. Ugh. I remember reading the book in high school. It was quite funny. The whole military intelligence is an oxymoron thing, but I thought the idea was neat. Shevek was, in fact, quite wise, just really good at achieving his goals while playing dumb. My brother, he got the highest possible grade at math from a prestigious university. He's always got A's on everything and was a general, all-round genius. He had a week-long argument with me about how bicycles cannot possibly go faster than someone running because physics won't allow it. My mind just cannot comprehend how someone can be so smart, can be so dumb. My brother works in the nuclear field, helping to maintain a facility and ensure it doesn't melt down. My brother also put a 9-volt battery in a smoke detector backwards. His solution to his continued chirping was to move it to the upstairs hallway near the kids' bedroom. It was there for 2 weeks before I visited his house, popped the battery out that he had jammed in with a butcher knife, and turned it around in about 5 seconds. I can't help but wonder how he manages to understand nuclear anything. So he's a whole real-life Homer Simpson? He sounds a bit like my brother. I guess it's not really dumb, it's just lacking in common sense. My brother's the kind of guy who would fall for some kind of wallet inspector scam. I just know it. There is a man I go to school with named Jed. Jed is one of those types of people who was a super genius. Then he had a mental breakdown from the pressure of being a genius and completely fell apart. Some people say he's completely lost now, but I think he's secretly still in there, enjoying the relief provided by his bizarre facade. He is in his early 40s and is studying to be a music teacher, like me. He has very poor communication skills, mostly because he is completely honest all the time. If you ask him how he's doing, he will take a moment to sum up his being, then give you a report. One time I asked him, and he was quiet for a long time, then said horrible, but free. I asked him why he felt that way, and he said that he was fired from his job as a church janitor because his coworker was gay and wouldn't stop hitting on him while he worked. So he locked him in a closet and let him there all night. The next month, for his senior recital, He played all 6 Bach cello preludes from memory, along with other assorted pieces. He is also allergic to pretty much everything, so he takes his own food with him. One time when our students' outreach group went to a conference out of state, he took 3 hard-boiled eggs, 2 bananas, a tin of guacamole, and a carton of milk on a plane. I don't know how he got past security, but he did. I know he had the eggs in his hat, but I don't know where he put everything else. Walking around campus, you're likely to find him sitting in trees. His knowledge of religious is astounding. When we were at a party, and he asked me to pose a good philosophical question for a rousing discussion. So I asked him about his thoughts on free will and divine preordination. He has told me before that he has Quaker heritage. He talked for ages and ages about how it depends on the God you worship and things like that, giving examples and citations to various holy books and treaties and things. It wasn't a crazy person rambling. It was a serious discussion on world religions and how they view free will. There have been other times where I'm at school at late night practicing and I'll hear yelling and I'll peek around the corner and there he is, throwing a fit and falling on the ground, swearing and screaming incoherently. People have tried approaching him when he gets like this, but they won't acknowledge you. He can also drink crazy amounts of alcohol and remain completely coherent. He had an entire bottle of wine by himself and was still completely functional. We were worried because he was sitting in a tree above the fire pit at a party when he did it, but he climbed out of the tree no problem and took out all the recycling for the host. He rents out his home and lives with his girlfriend and her daughter, with whom he seems very happy. I have no idea what is going to happen to Jed, but I hope wherever he ends up, he's happy. Edit for people requesting more Jeb stories. I'm not going to read any more of that. Wouldn't call him an idiot. Seems like a highly intelligent person with some mental illness that he is working through. Expectations that come with being highly intellectual are difficult to live up to, while often experiencing greater degrees of stress and alienation. The alternative is also a possibility, as their cognitive abilities can enable them to have a deeper understanding of themselves, others, and situations, which allows them to cope more effectively and adapt to situations. Wow, that was a long read. Vermin Supreme, a.k.a. the guy who ran for president with the boot on his head. What? Vermin's presidential platform, dental hygiene law, flying monkey public safety assurance program, time travel research funding. I'm pretty sure that guy knew exactly what he's doing. Probably the guy who was acting as the manager of the store I'm working at. A salesman when I met him 5 months ago. Now, since his recent separation, he shows up in shorts and flip-flops under the influence of who knows what, spends his day outside of the store picking leaves off the trees, and concocting plans to put the McDonald's next door out of business. We run a mattress store. Somebody relapsed. And my old roommate threw out all of his socks and ordered new ones in bulk because he was tired of having to match them. I do this every month. It's called the Upsalocalypse. I used to wear mismatched socks all the time. It's not like an orange sock and a black sock, but 2 white socks that I technically don't go together. But one day, someone at work called me out on it, and I felt awful for some reason. I honestly had no idea everyone noticed, and I had this mini panic attack on that I've looked foolish for so long, and no one once ever told me anything, that the properly half the people I'm around actually do notice that my socks don't match. I've turned my life around now, though. I've really grown up since that day. My socks always match. Thanks for the support, everyone. I'm going to find that motherfucker and tell him off. Also, I was a bartender, so the uniform was shorts, sneakers, and shirts. Though that was a given. And socks. I would never wear white socks in the corporate world. That's amateur. We still talk about it behind your back. Yogi Berra. He says stuff like, you can observe a lot just by watching, and it's deja vu all over again. And you're like, that's stupid. But then you're like, hey, that kind of makes sense. Or, that's pretty funny. This particular anon, be me 83 old and bored, be pro fag, designed to help fags achieve rights and shit. Normal go fag people chants don't work, designed to reverse psych those bitches, start church in Kansas, attract a bunch of fag haters to my cause. They don't know the plan, think I hate fags too. We go out and protest the stupid signs saying God hates fags. Act like complete assholes, protest soldiers' funerals to make sure no one likes us. Now, unsure people side with fags and shit, even conservative states. Now, every protest we have taken over by LGBT movements. Where we go, fags follow. We make them look good. MFW Westboro made people pro-fag and nobody knew it was all part of my brilliant scheme. The spooky thing is, Phelps actually was a civil rights lawyer before he went nuts. Interesting story, considering that Phelps was a prominent lawyer representing minorities during several 1960 civil rights cases. He was recognized by the NAACP for the work he did on behalf of black clients. Also, he was excommunicated from the Westboro Church shortly before his death. Maybe the rest of the church leaders figured him out. Apparently, he was overheard by his family members talking to the owners of the Rainbow House and called them good people. The Rainbow House? Oh. Terry A. Davis. Here's the deal. This guy wrote an entire operating system by himself from scratch. For those of you who don't understand the magnitude of that achievement, consider that it took several thousand to write the earlier Windows and probably tens of thousands for the newer ones. His is not nearly as full-featured, but is still surprisingly robust and complete. However, this guy is completely nuts. The reason he made the operating system is because he believed God told him to. Hence the name of the project, Temple OS, featuring the programming language Holy See. The guy is a diagnosed schizophrenic, and yet there are probably very few people out there in the world who could do what he has done. If nothing else, Holy See is a genius name. Well, that's definitely not an idiot, just a genius dealing with a mental issue. Yeah, that's more of a better way to describe that guy. Tommy Wiseau. He's the actor of The Room, the worst/best movie ever created. All depend on whether or not he truly takes his work seriously. He's either a complete idiot for making such a piece of shit, or is a genius for pulling off one of the most masterful trolls and display of irony in history. Also, his AMA might be my favorite thing on Reddit. He is who inspired me to ask this question. Somewhat relevant XKCD. Oh, this looks really long. I probably shouldn't read this on this. Lindsay Seidner, the 33-year-old billionaire who inherited and runs the In-N-Out Burger franchise. In-N-Out is wildly popular in Southern California and some other southwest states it has expanded into. But even though it has existed for as long as McDonald's and was founded just a few miles away, to date there are only about 300 stores. I can't decide if this is a genius move and opening stores slowly has maintained the culture and quality that has made In-N-Out so successful, or if they are literally leaving billions of dollars on the table by not expanding into new areas that would literally eat it up. We have an In-N-Out in my state. I believe they had a policy of not freezing their patties, so their locations all must be within a certain shipping distance of their patty-making facilities in California and Texas. Huh. I used to drive past In-N-Out in the mornings, and there was always a semi-truck parked out front. They seriously do get fresh ingredients every day. That's probably why it's... I read a book about this, supposedly. It's very deliberate. They don't open stores that they can't keep a very close eye on and make sure it's in good hands. I am really overeating there at this point, personally, but the experience has been so far superior to any other fast food chain, in my opinion. They have never messed up an order for me. I have never seen an employee doing something stupid or rude. It's kind of amazing. They pay really well for the jobs as well. Not just a coincidence. I worked at a Costco in a city of 300,000 people. Got about 2K job applicants per month. If someone was purposefully rude or bad at their jobs, they were gone and replaced. Turnover in new hires was extremely high, but if you had been there a year, it was extremely low. The difference in the feeling you get in a Costco versus Walmart is palpable. My wife is a manager for them, can confirm it's deliberate. They're actually pretty smart when it comes to their business. They do all kinds of research before picking a location, and only buy a location outright. This tends to lead to things like private property owners only selling them a site for their store if they'll buy a second site or building. They actually own a lot of property because of this, from what I understand. I love learning about the company. They run themselves more like a gigantic family business than they do a corporation. They take care of their associates well, and their managers very well too. Not just wages, but benefits, company gifts, etc. They actually care about the people that work for them, but because they expect and get a lot out of them too. Yeah, most of the In-N-Outs I see are very busy all the time. I was like, that would suck to work there. Alright. I think this one's long enough. Ooh, a lot of these were really long. Especially that one story about Jeb.